Hey everybody, it's Chris Lagarde here with the Chris and Caleb Real Estate Team, where we're committed to dramatically impacting lives through real estate. Really excited for today. We're going to have we have Maura McDonnell here with us, one of our very few recommended mortgage lenders. In fact, I get requests all the time for folks saying, "Hey, I'd love to talk to you about helping you guys out with mortgages." I'm like, "Look, you got to know I have some really awesome people, and we're very loyal to them, and they're very, very good at what they do." So, Maura comes highly recommended. So, Maura, glad to have you.
Thank you, Chris. It's an honor to be here with you today.
Absolutely. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to go through some mortgage questions. We did this with another preferred vendor, Brian, about a month ago. Today we're going to have Maura on here to go through a little bit different set of questions than what we had before, and just want to go over some of those things a little bit. So I hope that the video quality and everything's good. So we're going to see how things go. If you have questions, please ask them. I'm looking at our feed right now just to see how things are going, and if we've got good good questions and whatnot. Just checking the quality here for a second. It looks like it might be sticking every few seconds, give or take. All right, we're going to keep going forward. So first thing we want to ask, what are the top 3 to 4 common questions you receive when people come to you and approach you about mortgages?
That's pretty easy. Number one, what's your rate? People are very interested in the interest rate.
Yep.
Next thing might be, how much money do I need, or what are your closing costs?
Mm-hmm.
Often people will call immediately and say, how much can I get pre-approved for?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the final question that I see a lot, especially in today's market, is, can I buy this new house before I sell my current home?
Yeah.
Those are the big ones.
Yeah, that's in this market where we're seeing multiple offers on almost any home that gets put up on the market, no matter where it's at. It's tough for folks who have to sell a home and buy a home at the same time, just because that becomes a sticking point for sellers. I mean, if you've got 4 or 5 offers on the table and there's 2 or 3 of those that don't have a home to sell, it can be tough. And so getting that question answered, if you have a home to sell, is one of the first things you want to figure out, is what do you qualify for without selling your home, if you can help it. But you know what, sometimes that's reality, and we've got plans in place to help folks do that. So what are some of the biggest myths or misconceptions you've come across?
I get a lot of misconceptions when I talk to people. Oftentimes I'm speaking with someone and they say, I'm not ready now because maybe I don't have a 700 credit score. I'm concerned about my credit score. I need to save more money. I don't have enough for a 20% down payment or 10% down payment. You don't need to have that much money to put down. People will look at the size of their debt load as opposed to the minimum monthly payments, which is what we look at. So they might say, I have to pay down my student loans or some of my debts before I can qualify. Another one I see a lot is, I haven't been in my job for 2 years. I've heard you have to be in your job for 2 years. These are misconceptions for most people. Really, my best advice, don't guess, don't assume. Talk to a mortgage professional, give me a call, we'll get you pre-approved, I'll walk you through the whole process and what you need for your specific situation.
It's great advice. If you're thinking about getting a mortgage or needing one, or just rates are so low these days, it's maybe advantageous even if you don't need a loan, but you need maybe it's good to try to see what you can get. As far as the employment, that's an interesting one, because I know it. I know that it's got to be. It doesn't have to be 2 years, but what is the minimum that you have to be in a job? Is there a minimum?
So there's a 2-year history. We look at a 2-year history, but somebody could have been in college last year. We're not going to hold education against them. They want to see what you've done for the past 2 years.
Right.
If you're self-employed, and only if you're self-employed, which means you own the business, you need to be in the job for 2 years. Otherwise, you can graduate college, get a salary position, and be in the job 1 month. It's going to be different for everyone's scenario, which is why I always say, don't assume, call. There's rules with gaps of employment. Hey, I changed jobs. It depends how long you've been off, how long you have to be back to work.
Sure.
So again, people hear what someone else, maybe at the water cooler at work, a friend went through, and you may not have the same guidelines or scenario as your friend down the street.
Cool. Okay. So what are the main things that lenders look for when they're looking at somebody who's looking to get a loan?
So the things we're going to evaluate, as you mentioned, employment, that's a big one. We have to show the ability to pay the loan back through income, right? So we've got employment, income, assets. They want to see where's the money coming from for the down payment, assuming it's not a VA loan and there is a down payment, and or closing costs, and also your credit. You don't need a 700 score, but we do need to see the credit history.
Gotcha. Okay. So when somebody's thinking about getting a lender, I have folks that talk to us all the time, and they're like, hey, we're thinking about buying a house, thinking about doing this, thinking about doing that, and oh, I've got Uncle Joe, or I bank with this big bank, or they had somebody, Quicken Loans or something like that. And how does somebody evaluate a lender if they've never used them? Like, what's the criteria somebody really should be looking for? Because, I'll weigh in on my 2 cents, because we see a lot of it, and a lot of problems in the process come from the mortgage side. Folks not being responsible and following up on things, or their processors just seeing, things as a number, and they're not following up right away. So what's your advice as far as what people should look for?
My first thing is, don't jump on the internet and try to find the lowest possible rate humanly possible, because you may get the lowest level of service as well. Get a referral. Talk to your agent. Talk to people in the know in the business. Talk to somebody you know and you trust that's had a good experience. But also interview the person you're talking to. Ask questions. Get a feel. Ask them, how long have they been doing this? I mean, do you want to be someone's first client, to try this intimidating process? How responsive are they to you? That's big. If when someone's trying to earn your business, they're not very responsive, think about how they're going to act when they actually get your business. Ask them about their process. How does it work? Does it seem organized? A lot of mortgage companies and mortgage professionals just sort of go with the flow of, like, this is how things work, and it's complicated and it's confusing and everyone hates it. It doesn't have to be that way. What's the process look like? How many loans did you not close on time last year?
That's a good question. Yeah, I'd be interested to see if they'd actually be honest about that, or if they even know that.
Well, add 20% maybe. I don't know.
Right.
But use your gut. Get a gut feeling. After you ask a lot of questions, you will get a gut feeling. Are they educating you, or are they pushing you? I think that's
actually a really good point. Educating versus pushing, and that's something that with our sales process, we don't. We as a team, the Chris and Caleb team, really don't push people. We see our job as getting people the information they need to make a good decision, and it's the same way with you guys. Is that I love that. If you feel pushed, just like you walked into a car place and you're buying a car and they're pushing you to buy something. That's not a good feeling. I would listen to that gut feeling. That's good. I like that. All right.
I think, what I try to tell my clients is knowledge is power.
Yeah, right.
I'm here to try to empower you to make the best decisions you can for your mortgage needs, which is probably the biggest purchase you've had in your life. So the more educating I can do and information I can provide you, you've got the power now to make the best decision for you and your family. Yeah,
and there's so much information on the internet these days. Anybody can be quote unquote expert, and it's like, look, experience counts for something. And I tell folks, look, if you're interviewing agents, you should ask how much business have you done in the last 12 months? Just because they've been in the business 25, 30 years doesn't mean they're an expert in the process now. Things change all the time, and if they're not on top of it, if they're not doing a decent amount of production, then they're going to miss things. And it's kind of the same. I would imagine it's the same way with mortgage folks. I mean, stuff changes probably more in your industry, I would imagine, than mine.
Daily, there's new updates are coming out daily that are helpful or maybe more restrictive. Another thing, a great way to phrase that question of what you were asking is, how many families do you help a year or a month? Yeah, I like that. Cool. Well, let me just put some context to that. I mean, what would be a good? How do you tell? Okay, what if they help 2 families a month? Like, is that considered experience? And what's the average production of a mortgage person, so you can kind of tell, are they more or less experienced than the average mortgage person? Right. From what I understand, I think the average probably does about 3 to 4 loans per month.
Okay.
But again, you're sort of, that's like the average realtor does 7 transactions a year, and you guys do more than that a month.
Right, yeah.
So part of it is just going to be the gut. I think as you're asking questions, you can also see someone's comfort level with you prying a little bit. And again, my immediate reaction would be to assure them they're in good hands and let them know why and how and what I do for my clients.
Right.
If you have a unique situation, you could be asking this question to see, do they have exposure to your unique situation?
Right. That's a good point. Okay. Cool. Any other do's or don'ts that you would add to this list of looking for a lender?
I think the biggest thing is ask questions and trust your gut.
Okay.
See what kind of response you're getting, and do you feel taken care of? I think that you might agree that one of the biggest problems in the lending industry is communication.
Oh yeah, totally.
And if you're not getting good communication prior to finding the house, is this the person to guide you through the process, communicate with all parties to get you not only to the finish line on time, but in an easy, predictable process?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Cool. Best advice you can give someone who wants to buy now or in the future? What is that?
Best advice is don't make any assumptions.
Yeah.
Don't assume, don't listen to everything you're hearing at work or with friends. Call a trusted mortgage professional. Talk to them, build a little bit of a relationship, get pre-approved, pull the credit so you can see if there's anything on there that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Even if you're 2 years out, go through the exercise, get educated, know what to expect, wrap your arms around the finances and the process, and by all means, call the Chris and Kayla team.
I didn't pay her to say that.
Don't look around. I mean, you don't pay for your buyer representation.
Right.
So a lot of buyers don't understand that. So for you to sit at night and be looking online to get potentially outdated information about your property search, when you can have one of your team members sending you up to the minute what's on the market, what's hot, what's going on.
Totally.
Listed, sold, where things stand.
Cool. Well, here, let me say this as we wrap up. So, if anybody's watching this, I'm just keeping an eye on the internet connection here, and we tried a little bit of a different location this time, so the internet connection is not the greatest. But I am recording this, so I'm going to repost this without all the blips and stuff. But let me say this about Maura, is that the thing I appreciate about her the most is she is so on top of things. She's very straightforward. There's never been a lack of, there's never been somebody that came back to us and said, I really haven't heard from them. For Maura, she's not been on top of things. Like, I've never heard that. She's very, very good at being on top of things. She follows systems like we do to make sure that things get done. And she has, a team of people helping her. It's not just her getting overwhelmed. So if something happens to her, there's a team that's going to be, backing her up to make sure that the gaps are filled in. So Maura, I really appreciate you being here today. And if you guys have any questions, reach out to us. We'll get you connected with Maura, and we'll get things moving. So appreciate you being here today, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.
So long. Thanks.